Happy Thursday afternoon, everybody. I am mobile today. One of the things I love about what I do is I can be mobile. So today's conversation in Amplify Your Values is based around the workplace. And we talked in most of the days before this that the values are overlapping. And I'm just focusing on some of them in different contexts and different themes. So today is day 4. So let's land and take a few breaths here. Just allowing yourself to take a few deep inhales. Exhales. And just noticing what you feel, noticing where you're at, allowing that to be okay. Allowing yourself to feel your physical body and land here and now. And noticing where there might be disconnect. I just came from my chiropractors and there was some disconnect between my where my intestines and my stomach meet. And so it's just interesting to kind of ponder where we might be disconnected and maybe even why. And we might know why or we might not. So just really feeling into that body and honoring it for all that it does. Noticing your energy. Are you feeling expansive, ready to take on the world? Or are you feeling contracted and maybe a bit quieter? Being reminded that one is not better than the other. And notice through your breath and your connection with the body that maybe you can shift whether you feel contracted or expansive. And again, allowing that to be whatever it is. And then bring to mind, what's your intention for listening to this call today? What are you hoping to receive? Is there anything specific you're looking to shift? And just setting that intention and putting that out there into the ethers per se. And being reminded that there's this energy that we can play with around manifestation. It doesn't all have to be hard work and labor. Karen Curry Parker was right. I read this from her encyclopedia the other day about the shift in how we manifest things. 50 years ago, it was hard work. Now there's an energetic component to helping manifest things, which I think is really cool and I really enjoy playing in it. So just notice where you land with all of that. For some people, it's going to be like, yep, nope, that's not my thing. Totally respect that. And for some people, it's just like, that feels correct for you. And wherever you might be in between. Just taking a few more breaths and then opening your eyes when you're ready. So brags today, just taking a moment to pause and what would you like to brag about? What are you proud of? What would you like to celebrate? And my celebration is my continual self-care of professionals. I mentioned I just came from the chiropractor and I go monthly and I love my chiropractor. She does energy healing. So she does cranial sacral and osteo stuff. And I just feel so much better after I see her. And it's like this maintenance that happens. So taking a few more breaths and just notice where your celebration lands. And whatever that might be, your celebration might be, I'm listening to the call and I have 5 more minutes to listen, and that's great. And so I also wanted to pause here and give you a couple moments to reflect on what you're aware of from the last 3 days. I've given you a fair amount of information. My apologies for the background noise. There's a train going by where I am. So just take a few moments and acknowledge your awarenesses based on whether you've been on a live call, you've read my emails, or you've listened to a few live calls. And what has shifted? What tiny, tiny things are shifting? And sometimes it's about how you think differently about things. Sometimes it's about how you respond to something that happens regularly in your days, and you're just starting to shift the paradigm and your perspective. And some of you are going to have big shifts and big ahas. And some of you, it's just like this little recalibration and slight shift because of where you're at and what you've got going on. So allowing yourself a few deep breaths as you acknowledge those wins and ahas from your last 3 or 4 days. And what I want to pause and just have you think about is some of you, not all of you, have some kind of healthcare plan. And some healthcare plans are great and some of them are okay. And so I just want you to be aware if you're utilizing yours. Now that I am no longer teaching and in the health or in the school system, I wish I'd used my healthcare plan better. So just having a bit of awareness around, are you using the resources that are at your disposal? Because often workplaces have decent resources, whether they be massage, chiropractor, energy healing. Some places have a spending account. Acupuncture is something that's covered, natural paths, those kind of things. So be aware of what your healthcare plan is and what you're paying for and what you're utilizing. Because I feel like if we have this idea of prevention when it comes to self-care and our habits and our values and how we choose to live, if we are continually doing things for our health in a preventative avenue, we're not going in chaos. We don't go to the chiropractor and the massage person because we actually can't move. We go for maintenance. Excuse me, and that maintenance helps us raise our vibration and helps us feel better. So I just wanted to kind of presence that around the workspace. And are there values you need to lean into to access that? Are there family members in your house that can also access that so that your whole unit feels better? So just some food for thought. I encourage you to check out your plan or even check into getting a plan. I just wanted to presence that. So some of you have read this book or other books of Brene Brown. And I picked this up a while ago, and I probably read the first 100 pages-ish, I think, maybe more than that. And then I stopped reading because that's kind of how books are for me sometimes. But what I really liked about what I read in this Dare to Lead is the idea of armored leadership versus daring leadership. And if you happen to have this book, Dare to Lead, on page 92, there's this list of kind of opposites. And I wanted just to read a couple of them to you. And so armored leadership, probably would be good if I read you the definition of this, if I can find it easily. Armored leadership is leading from a space of fear and often authoritarian and putting people down. So just being aware of that. Daring leadership is leading from a place of vulnerability. And for me, it's kind of like we're people. We're not perfect. We make mistakes. And so when we make a mistake, having our boss or someone we work with be condescending or yell or holler or just make us feel shameful about the mistake we've made, that's what they call armored leadership. And so just a couple things around armored leadership. There's this idea of, excuse me, driving perfection and fostering fear of failure. Working from scarcity and squandering opportunities for joy and recognition. Numbing. As opposed to daring leadership is modeling and encouraging healthy, striving, empathy, and self-compassion. Daring leadership is practicing gratitude and celebrating milestones and victories. And setting boundaries and finding real comfort. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention. Another one, armored leadership is collecting gold stars for you. Daring leadership is giving gold stars. So just some food for thought in the workplace. Where do you show up? And if you're in a leadership position, how do you lead? And the other thing I want to address in that as well is if you're not in a leadership position, as a supervisory position or the boss or whatever your role might be, it doesn't mean that you don't exhibit leadership. Think about when you go to the grocery store. Some people have a favorite teller that they go to because they have conversations, they interact with you, they uplift your day. That's leadership. That's everyday leadership. That person doesn't have to do that. They can just ring your groceries through and kind of ignore you, but they are setting an example and connecting with people. So no matter where you are in your position in your job, I feel like leadership is who you choose to be and how you show up. Now, when we look at values, this is a bit of a monologue because everybody else is doing other things, which is totally fine. When we look at values, as I'm writing the curriculum for the 6-week program for this, I came up with some other ones, but I didn't want to use the same ones today. I wanted to talk about this idea of respect. And I brought my book because I can't screen share with you very effectively on my phone. So respect was one of the ones that I pulled. And Drew defines it as a commitment to treating people and things as if they have inherent value. So when we pull this into the workplace, it's like each member of your team, whether you lead it or are a part of it, has inherent value. Some days it might not seem like it, but they each have inherent value. So Drew's action driving questions are, what did I do today to better understand someone? It's kind of like when you're at work and someone's being a jerk or just kind of off. Do you understand what's going on in the rest of their life? Because you never know what is going on in their personal life. His next question is, what did I do today to show someone I felt they were valuable? So in that workplace, in the team, whether you actually have a team or you're just in a building or you share an office or whatever that looks like, how do you let the people around you know they're valuable? And this can be easily carried over to family as well as yourself. This next one is kind of funny. It's like, how did I disagree with civility today? And so it's like, how do you have this respect and value other people, but still hold your boundaries and still value yourself enough to share and possibly disagree? And depending on where you are and what your role is, this is going to look different. And as we navigate this, some of you might go, oh, I actually don't like my job. So I want you to be aware that that's a possibility too. And that's okay too, in wherever you're at. The next one I wanted to look at was the idea of humility. Let me just Drew defines humility as a commitment to recognizing that the things which make you awesome don't make you better than anyone else. Sometimes we have this idea of superiority because we have more experience or we're older or whatever that might be. And so humility is reminding us that the things that make us awesome don't make us better than somebody else. And I like that because sometimes I fall into that. It's like, oh yeah. His action driving questions are, how did I reflect someone else's light today? Second one, how did I acknowledge someone else's role in my success today? Which I think is really powerful because sometimes we don't acknowledge the role other people play. And I'm going to bring in the definition of gratitude here that we've talked about, is honoring the good, bad, and the ugly in the experiences that the person that helps us become. So even in the stuff that feels yucky that we navigate, there can still be humility when we acknowledge the role of someone pissing us off or someone doing something that they shouldn't have done, and we grow from that experience. Not always easy, not always pretty, but there is acknowledging that growth for the person you now are based on that experience. The last one, how did I use my resources to make someone else look good today? And I feel like it takes that back to the armored versus daring leadership, is if we can lift someone up and make them look good because of our resources, it supports the whole team as opposed to undermining them and taking them out. The last one, I like this one. His value of mastery. Mastery is a commitment to seeking continuous improvement. It's not getting it perfect. It's this idea of continuous improvement, which in conversations with lots of you, you're working on this. It's like you don't have to get it perfect. It's this continuous improvement. So those action driving questions, how did I practice something today? Third question, how did I invest in my craft today? Sometimes we invest finances and sometimes we invest time. Third one, what did I do today to learn from someone better? And so those are the three values I wanted to highlight. And when I send you this recording, I will pop them in as images in the email so you have them and can view them for those that are visual learners. And this is going to be a little bit of a shorter video because I don't have feedback from people, but just take some time to contemplate your workplace. Bring your awareness to the values you might want to start to lean into from the list that I emailed you. And see what you want to bring into your awareness and focus on. And the other thing I want to acknowledge is we talked about personal and family values, and now we're on workplace. If you're like, I'm still working on my personal and family and aren't ready to look at workplace, that's totally fine. If you happen to run your own business, how do you lead from values? I actually had a lady who did courses with me probably 4 years ago, and she had a whiteboard in her shop, and she actually wrote values on them. So I can't remember if it was each day or each week, she wrote those values on her board so that her employees could see them. There could be conversations around them. And it just started to shift awareness. I would really like to put them on the whiteboard I have in my hallway. It just hasn't happened yet. So where do you want to lean into your workplace values? And maybe you want to set them aside and work on your personal and your other ones, maybe not. And build some clarity on how your values align you day in and day out. Because sometimes when we go to work, things will happen and they knock us off kilter, or they stress us out, or they piss us off, or they make us happy. And so on the days that we feel we get knocked off center, how do you bring yourself back? What's this balance and disconnect that happens from work to non-work? And how can you support yourself in stepping one step at a time into deeper alignment. Because we don't have to do it perfect. We don't have to do it all at once. And back to that idea of the cosmic plan or faith, whatever you believe in, that there's this greater plan that we don't always know the timeline. And I know for me, my timeline is always off. It's like what I do usually takes me twice as long to navigate and bring to fruition than I think it should. So now I'm getting better at going, oh, this is going to take me 4 months instead of 2. So giving yourself grace, giving yourself permission to give yourself some time this weekend. What does downtime look like? And the other thing I want to say is it's okay to say no to good things. It's okay to say no to great things. I want you to tap into your bandwidth right now. It's getting to be the end of May, May-long weekends coming up. Soccer, baseball, sports, wrapping up with school things. Camping is on the agenda. There's so many more things because it's summer here in Canada. There's lots on the go. It's just like, how are you carving out your you time that makes you feel great? Whether it be something you can do at work with your students or the people you work with, whether it's something you do at home, or whether it's something you ask for support in. I know some of you have little kids. It's just like, who can you call and say, hey, can you come hang out with my kids for a couple hours? Or can I drop my kids off at your house for a day? How are you making that you time sacred? And I know it's easy to say, it's not as easy to do. So my question for you also to ponder, I feel like I've given you lots of things to ponder, is where are you not making yourself sacred? Where are you not making your time sacred? We do so much for our children and we just add things to our plate at this time of year. Where do you say, I actually have too much on my plate? And where do you pay attention to what fuels you and where you feel amazing? So that then you can do that and continue to show up with your full potential and feel great about yourself. That's all I've got for you today. Amazing job in navigating. Keep navigating. I know some days suck and some days are amazing and everywhere in between. Keep getting out of bed. Keep taking these small action steps. And I'm here if you want to connect with a one-on-one, just drop me a message. Have a great long weekend.